my friend. And it shows you it's not just local hype. It's not just us saying they could be the best defense in the NFL. Connor Orr, Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback, had a podcast, and they see it. Not just a top 5, top D in the league.
I think you've got a monstrous potential, especially when you factor in the fact that this ends up being the best defense in football.
I think that's definitely possible because they were great last year.
Yeah.
And they're adding like a couple pieces in the middle in Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga that I think have a chance to maybe help you level up. And then you're adding Jahdae Barron, and now you might have the best group of corners in the NFL in Surtain, Moss, and Barron. I don't know where the hole is on the defense now.
I mean, I agree with them. I'm not sure there is a hole in this defense. And I think when you look at it, the pressure is on Vance Joseph to deliver a top 5, top 3, top 1 defensive unit this year. The pressure's on Hufanga and Greenlaw to prove they were worthy of these deals coming off injuries. And let's be honest, Jahdae Barron was not a name on anyone's draft board. We didn't really preview Barron much when we were doing draft coverage. I think he's a first-round pick. He's got to step in right away. Whether that's in the slot on the outside, we'll have to see. But, Stoke, there are high expectations for this Denver defense.
There should be. Some great additions to a unit that was really good last year. So, yeah, you look on paper, there's not a weakness there. Where is it? You inside linebacker. We haven't had an inside linebacker forever. Alex Singleton's fine, but a top-notch inside linebacker forever. Okay, got Dre Greenlaw. Looking for a playmaking safety to be able to come in down in the box, cover tight ends, just a playmaking safety. Go get Hufanga. You added depth to the secondary with the addition of Barron. So, there's not a weakness on paper to this group. And then you get to build off of what you've been doing for the last couple of years with Vance Joseph. And as a coach, you want that pressure. This is what you want. You want a talented group. And I thought that Vance and that defensive staff did an unbelievable job last year. They deserve a lot of credit. It was a no-name defense. It felt like, besides Surtain.
Sure.
You look up and you're like, okay, well, who are those guys? And they were able to get after the quarter, scheme it up to get after the quarterback and carry this football team. For large parts of the season, they carried this football team. So you got to give them credit. But also now you add to it, that unit, I think it's going to be a special defense, a great defense. If they can stay, you always got to say if they can stay healthy.
Sure, that's the big caveat. But you'll remember just 2 years ago, they go down to Miami, and what happens? The Dolphins put a 70 burger on them. There was legitimate conversations of people calling for VJ's job after that 70 burger, and now he may be leading the best defense in the NFL and could parlay it into a second opportunity as a head coach.
Yeah, how cool would that be? I'm pulling for him. I hope that he gets that opportunity to do it again. Anytime that you do it one time and you really don't know what you're getting into, right? Being a head coach and you come in here and John's here and John's calling all the shots and it just doesn't work. It's hard. It just didn't work out, but you want one more crack at it. And hopefully if they do have a great year, yeah, I think he does get that opportunity next year. If they have the type of defense I think they can have, I think he'll get another opportunity next year, which I think is a good thing. I think it's kind of cool to see, where he was as a head coach. Didn't work out here, but then now he comes back as a defensive coordinator. The way that it started, to your point, 70-something points. What was it?
70 burger.
70, yeah.
But remember, McDaniel could have kicked the field goal to get to 73 to set the record, and he did the classy thing and didn't do it.
Yeah. So, that was as bad as it gets. Sean Payton, you give Sean credit, too. You could have fired him very easily. That was embarrassing. But they turned it around. And so really, really cool to see. Now all of a sudden you look up, and it's like that guy is leading the unit that pretty much carried his football team last year.
But isn't this the pressure on VJ then to come through and deliver? Because if he wants to be a head coach again in this league, Stoke, NFL owners don't generally like retreads. They like the young, hot commodity. You said it earlier in the show, specifically on offense. VJ's not old in real life, but he's getting up there in terms of a coach that's going to get another shot to be a head coach. Isn't this Vance Joseph's probably realistically his last chance to be a head coach once again in this league.
I'm not saying this year, because you could have a good year this year, come back next year and, crush it next year, then get an opportunity. So, but this is a great opportunity with this group to go out there and have a great year defensively. And to your point, parlay that into another opportunity to be a head coach.
But here's the elephant in the room is Sean really likes Jim Leonhard. He gave him a fancy new title this offseason. Remember, that's some sort of promotion, which we all know in life, what do fancy new titles come with? Probably a bump in pay. Why'd he do that? Probably because Jim was getting calls from around the league to go be a DC somewhere else. How long can you have Jim Leonhard as the quote-unquote DC in waiting unless you're going to eventually make him the DC here? Because he's going to tell Sean, I'm not going to wait around forever. I got 3 DC offers last year. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just guessing. I'm going to get 3 more this year. I'm going to go take one of those. I want to be with you. I want to be here, but if it's not going to be here, I got to go. I got to do the best thing for me, my career, my family, etc.
Well, okay, so I put myself in Sean Payton's shoes. You look, you realize you might lose Vance. So you want to have a backup option. You bring Jimmy Leonhard in last year. You like him. So you say, okay, I want to hold on to him. So you bump him up in salary and some title. Just in case you lose Vance. But if you don't lose Vance, you like Vance, then guess what? Then, Jimmy, okay, now you can go. I mean, you just want to have a backup option, and if it doesn't happen, then it's like, okay, you can't keep everyone for forever. You got to move on, and turn the page. So I like that they have a good option with Jim Leonhard in case Vance does leave. But sometimes those guys go, and you got to find another option. I mean, that's just the way that it works in sports. So you can't hold on to everybody. We'll see what it looks like, but you want to plan as best as possible, and I think that's what Sean's doing.
All right, Mina Kimes also came out with her top 10 defenses in the NFL. She ranked the Broncos at number 1 in the league as well, and here was her rationalization.
So my overarching case here, this defense was first in EVA per play, first in success rate, second in pressure rate with and without blitzing, second in pass rush win rate, first in sack rate. They were good against the pass and against the run, and I think they got better. I loved their free agency so much because I think they attacked all of their weaknesses on defense in a pretty smart way. I would argue they upgraded at multiple important positions, starting with linebacker Dre Greenlaw, which I think was the biggest weakness of the defense, really struggled to defend passes to running backs for this reason. That was one of their very few weaknesses. Bringing in Talanoa Hufanga and then drafting Jahdae Barron, who comes in. This is an unbelievable secondary, Dominique. Yeah. And I really, and they're really well coached by Vance Joseph. I went back and forth a little bit, but ultimately I just think they're both really, really talented and really, really deep and really well coached.
Again, to be the number 1 defense in the NFL going into this season, 63 sacks last year, tops in the league, defensive player of the year. Nick Bonito coming off a monster year where he was in the conversation for DPOY, 12, 13 weeks in a row. Like, Stoke, we talk a lot about Bo Nix and the offense, and rightfully so. But the good news is even if they have bad days, the Broncos should be able to win games 17-14 this year. Those types of scores as well.
Absolutely. And that's why the running game's so important. When you rely on the defense, and sometimes the passing game's just not there, especially when you got what we have here. You still got a young quarterback that's trying to develop. It's not going to be perfect this year. Well, you know that, right? I think you're talking about the kid's glove. I think you're putting the bar so high. You think we're going to go out there and we're scoring these massive numbers, and Bo's going to be out there dealing, looking like PFM in his prime.
I mean, easy. They scored 25 points a game last year. I said I would like them to score 28 this year. And you got a field goal. Brandon Stokley shaking in his boots over an extra field goal a game.
So I'm just saying, you're going to see some games that might look a little ugly. But when you got a great defense, defense travels. Cold weather, rainy, it doesn't matter. We saw the Jets game last year. Defense travels, too, on the road, playoffs. That's how you win playoff games in bad weather conditions. And you know what else travels? A run game. So, if that running game gets going, we're going to see moments where this passing game doesn't look great. I can just tell you that right now. So get that running game going. This defense will be great. I love the versatility, the flexibility that this group gives to Vance and that coaching staff. When you look at Barron, what he can do, play inside, play outside, you look at Hufanga, the different things that he can do, he talks about Troy Polamalu. They both went to USC. Troy's kind of a mentor to him, but that was kind of Troy Polamalu. I'm not comparing him to Troy, but he's just all over the football field. Having one of those types of safeties is huge. It just gives you a lot of flexibility as a defensive coordinator for the things that you can call, the things that you can do, and the problems and the issues that you can give to offenses and offensive coordinators.
Definitely. No doubt about it. There's a lot of guys on that defense. You mentioned the middle linebackers. The names that come to mind to me, Stoke, are Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall. Broncos have not had this good of middle linebackers since the Super Bowl 50 team. With all due respect to guys like the Outlaw, Josie Jewell, this is the best middle linebacker core they've had with Singleton and Greenlaw. You mentioned the running game too, though. RJ Harvey, who has the most to prove between these three guys? And it may be unfair to put this on a second-round rookie, most to prove. But between RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, and Sean Payton, which one of those three is under the most pressure of, like, we have to have a running game this year, and it's either on Sean, J.K., or RJ? How does that order stack up for you?
Well, I mean, I think R.J. Harvey's going to be the starter. I think he's going to be the starter. But I think you will see a lot of Dobbins in there. And as far as Sean Payton goes, I don't think he has a lot of pressure on him. And now, I mean, certainly you always have pressure as a head coach to go out there and be successful. But a lot of this running game, I like Dobbins. Dobbins was on my free agent big board. That our top 5 free agent. I mean, you look at the Chargers running game last year with him in the lineup and without him in the lineup, it was night and day. This guy's a good back. He could be the starter. I wouldn't be surprised by that. He's a really good running back. I love that duo of those two guys. But I'm going to say, hey, R.J. Harvey, we talked running back leading up into the draft. Marion Hampton and all these other names. We never mentioned R.J. Harvey.
No, Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins,
Yes.
the Ohio State duo. You're right. Harvey wasn't on a ton of radars.
And then all of a sudden they scoop him up in the second round. It's like, okay, all right. That's a premium pick. So, I think most of the heat here is probably in pressure is on Harvey.
Well, and then you go watch R.J. Harvey's highlights, and what did he do for Central Florida against CU? He burned them down the sideline, 70, 75-yard touchdown? And did you see who he outran on that score? It was 12 chasing him down. It was Travis Hunter. R.J. Harvey outran Travis Hunter to the corner of the end zone when the Buffs were down there. That, to me, was like the light bulb moment of like, whoa, this dude is really fast and really good. And, yeah, just because he's not Omarion Hampton doesn't mean he can't be the best running back in this class outside of probably Ashton Genty. But even that, we don't know how it's all going to shake out.
Yeah, I think, he's going to get a lot of opportunities. But that's why I love the addition of Dobbins, because you have to have a backup plan. Running the football this year is too important just to go into the season and say, all right, R.J. Harvey, it's all on you. Or, if it's not, guess what? Now we got to go back to the same old that we've seen for the last few years. That's not good enough. The Estime, the McLaughlin, the, Bidet and Watson, I mean, that's not good enough. That can't be an option. So maybe Estime bust out this year and all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, that's what they saw when they drafted him. But if it's not Harvey, you got to have a better backup plan, because you've got to be better at running the football this year. And that's what they did when they signed Dobbins. I love that addition. Love it.
Well, and I think what you're going to see is it felt like last year every time you looked up, there was a new running back touching the ball, right? You kind of had to look at the number every play going, wait, is that Javonte? Is that Audric? Is that Bidet? Is that Watson? Is that Jaleel? This year, Stoke, you tell me if I'm wrong. Week 1 against the Titans, how many running backs are going to realistically touch the ball? To me, it's probably 2, with maybe Jaleel getting a carry or 2. But I think it's going to be 50% R.J. Harvey, 40% J.K. Dobbins, 10% of the other guys. I think it'll strictly be a 2-person committee this year in a perfect world.
I think you're all over it. I really do. I think it's going to be R.J. Harvey and Dobbins show. Those two. And then you're going to sprinkle in Jaleel. Sean loves his personnel groupings. He loves every play, like in and out. It drives me nuts. But you know what? To each their own. It's worked pretty well for him, right? But you're going to see Jaleel with certain personnel groupings come into the game because he's a different skill set, right? He has a different skill set. So he is a home run hitter. He's that type of back now, so he can do some things and provide some things in the passing game. So you'll see a personnel grouping probably with him in it to where, to your point, we see him get a carry or two, get a pass thrown to him in certain situations. But make no mistake about it, it's a R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins show this year when it comes to running the football.
On the RamosLaw.com text line, Matt in Wash Park has a question for Stokley, and I like this one. Hey, Stoke, does this year's Broncos team remind you of your 2000 Ravens Super Bowl team? Insanely good defense with perhaps a little better offense.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that type of team. Now, we got hot at the right time in the playoffs. And, I mean, look, we didn't score a touchdown for, I think it was 4 games and won 3 of them. I mean, that's pretty special defense.
Sure.
So I think this defense could be great. Now, you're talking about one of the best ever in Baltimore. But I do think this defense is going to be great. And this offense should be much better than the offense that we had in Baltimore in 2000. So, yeah, we shall see. But I like that kind of comparison. And we were predominantly a run-first football team. We didn't know who our quarterback was going to be. Started with one quarterback, ended up with a different quarterback. Broncos know who their quarterback's going to be. Probably don't have the running back that we had, Jamal Lewis. But as skilled position guys go, yeah, I could see that this playing out that way. Now, you get in the playoffs, you got to win when it matters.
But think about what you just said the last 90 seconds, that you like the comparison that Matt brought up, yet you told me an hour ago, well, if they get to the playoffs and lose to Buffalo or Baltimore, it can still be a step forward. I think you're kind of saying two different things, my friend. Like, you're saying this team has potential to be excellent, but also at the same time, well, if they just lose in the first round again, it is still a good season. I mean, you're hedging a little here. You're kind of sitting on that fence, my friend.
No, I think this team, if I look at it, I could say, hey, I can see a best-case scenario where they go on a run in the playoffs. Best-case scenario. I could see that happen. I'm not making that up. I'm not, looking at this thing and acting crazy by saying that. I can give you legit reasons on how this football team could go on that type of run. That doesn't mean that that's my expectation, and it's a failure or disappointment if they don't do it. Do you follow me there?
I do, but you're saying best-case scenario is a parade this season. Best case scenario. It's a Friday. People are in a good mood.
Look, I've seen crazier things happen. So yeah.
Okay.
Best. Which would like hitting it out, grand slam happening here. I could see that. Look. I mean, we see teams that the Giants and how they rode a defense to a Super Bowl, couple Super Bowl. My Ravens team, the Broncos in 15. I mean, it happens, and I think this defense has that potential. It's going to be very difficult. You got to hit a lot of green lights. A lot of things got to go your way. But saying all that, I also could see a scenario where, they win 9-10 games. They get in the first round of the playoffs, and they lose the first round of the playoffs to Buffalo again or Baltimore or whoever, and I could still come away with the feeling of, all right, it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't a bad year. There was a lot of positives.
9-8 feels like a step back.
There was a lot of positives.
Would there be a lot of positives at 9-8?
Sure. I don't know. You tell me. We'll see what it looks like.
The kid gloves.
They
won 10 games with Bo as a rookie, but if they win 9, you're telling me, well, there's still going to be a lot of positives.
There could be. I'm saying there could be a lot of positives. Let's see what it looks like. So it's not an easy thing to do. I try to tell Evans this, and Evans like, ooh. But it's not easy to win in the NFL.
Well,
okay? It's not
right now too.
Perfect, thank you. You know this though. Again, so see, you're one of those guys a little bit like Evans that you got to. It's got to show up in the record or the stats. You have to improve. So hey, they won 10 games last year, so they got to win 11 this year, or it's going to be every year they're not going to be able to take step forwards when it comes to stats and win and loss records. You know that, right? It just can't happen.
I get it, but with this young of team, these are the kind of years you want to see a step forward. I get it. When you were with Peyton Manning and the Colts, every year you guys rolled out of bed and won 12 games. So you didn't really have much higher of a ceiling than that. You're just going to go 12-4 back when they played 16 games. This Broncos team is different. You guys had reached your peak. You were consistently excellent every year. The Broncos still have a ways to climb up the mountain, even if you guys sat at the mountaintop regular season after regular season.
But they set the bar pretty high after 1 year. That's pretty high start for a rookie, second-year head coach here, and a lot of new pieces to go out there and win 10 games. That's a high bar to pass, Will.
It is.
I think they're going to be good this year. I really do. I think they're going to be good this year, and I don't think they're a one-hit wonder. So, but like that bar they set in year one of Bo Nix is a very high bar.